Once upon a time, in the heart of a small African village, there lived a woman named Aduni. Aduni was known for her beauty, but her life was filled with sorrow. She had no family, no wealth, and lived alone on the outskirts of the village. Her hut was old, with a straw roof that leaked when it rained, and a single cooking pot hung over her small fire. She was poor, and her only source of food was the wild plants and fruits she found in the nearby forest. One day, everything changed in the most peculiar and terrifying way. Aduni had an open wound on her hand that refused to heal. It was painful, and it oozed every day, but she had no medicine to treat it. The villagers stayed away from her, afraid that her wound was cursed. One evening, as the sun began to set, Aduni sat beside her fire, weak and starving. She had a handful of beans, just enough for a small meal, but no water to cook them. Her pot was dry, and the village well was far away. As she gazed at her wound, an idea, wild and dangerous, crossed her mind. In her desperation, she decided to use the liquid from her wound as water to cook her beans. Carefully, she let the fluid from her wound drip into the pot. The fire hissed as the liquid hit the bottom, and the beans began to cook. The smell that filled the air was unlike any she had ever known, sweet, savory, and strangely enticing. As the beans boiled, Aduni felt a strange warmth spreading through her body, starting from her wounded hand and flowing through her veins. The pain from her wound began to dull, and for the first time in weeks, she felt light, almost euphoric. The beans cooked faster than usual, and their rich aroma filled the night air. It wasn't long before the entire village could smell it. One by one, villagers emerged from their homes, sniffing the air, drawn toward Aduni's hut. When the beans were ready, Aduni tasted them. They were delicious, unlike anything she had ever eaten. Before she could finish, a knock came at her door. It was a group of villagers, their eyes wide with hunger and curiosity. "What is that smell?" they asked. "We have never smelled anything so delicious." Aduni, wary of revealing her secret, hesitated. But the villagers begged her for just a taste. Reluctantly, she gave them some of the beans. As they ate, their eyes widened in wonder. "This is the best food we have ever tasted," they exclaimed. Word spread quickly throughout the village, and soon, people from neighboring towns were coming to taste Aduni's magical beans. She became famous, not just in her village, but across the land. People traveled from far and wide to taste her food. With her newfound fame, Aduni was no longer poor. She opened a small shop in the city where people lined up to eat her beans. Her wound, however, never healed. In fact, it seemed to grow, spreading slowly up her arm. Each time she cooked, she used the water from her wound, and each time, the food became more delicious, more irresistible. But with each meal, her wound deepened, draining her life bit by bit. The more famous she became, the more her body withered. She began to walk with a limp, her skin turning pale and thin, yet the people never noticed, consumed by the desire for her food. One stormy night, as Aduni lay in bed, she realized the terrible price she had paid for her fame. Her wound had become too great, her body too weak to cook anymore. The next morning, the villagers came to her shop, but Aduni was nowhere to be found. They searched her hut, but all they found was an empty bed and a pot of uncooked beans. The people whispered among themselves, wondering what had become of the woman who cooked with water from her wound. Some say she vanished into the forest, her spirit consumed by the magic of her wound, while others claim she paid the ultimate price for using forbidden power. But from that day on, no one ever tasted beans like Aduni's again. The village returned to normal, and the memory of the magical cook faded into legend. However, deep in the woods, strange lights were said to flicker on dark nights, and some claimed that they could still smell the faint, sweet aroma of beans drifting through the air. Years passed, and the story of Aduni became a folktale, a warning told by the village elders to children by the fireside. Never seek greatness through dark means, they would say. For what is taken from the forbidden will always demand a greater price in return. And to this day, the villagers still speak in hushed tones. Did Aduni deserve her fate? Comment your opinion and subscribe so you never miss a captivating story.